Hello everybody and welcome to Chatmate. My name is Niels and today I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about the rook as a beginner. So the rook is the easiest piece to learn and you can often find it on a chessboard in most games by just looking at the piece which looks like a little tower from a medieval castle. So in this case this is the rook on chess.com. I can show you the rook on Lichess, looks like this. And I have two rooks from a real life chess game. They look like this. So the rook can move sideways, so on the horizontal line, and up or down, so vertically. A rook can travel any amount of squares if they are unoccupied. So in this case, there are no other pieces on the board, so he can just travel to a4, to a8, to h8, to a1, maybe even to f1, so he can move any amount of squares that he wants if they are unoccupied. But what happens if a square is occupied by another piece? So let's look at this example. We have our rook on e4 as before, and now we have this rook on b4, a new piece, and it's our own piece. So we have two rooks by the same color. We play white in this example, and we cannot jump over the other rook. So we can travel to d4 with the rook, we can travel to c4 in a rook, all in one move, but we cannot travel to b4 because the square is occupied. Also important to mention is that you cannot jump over the other piece. So technically a4 is unoccupied, but you cannot travel through your pieces. This is not allowed. You have to stop before the piece, and you cannot jump over the piece. But what happens in this example? We still have our rook on e4, but now you have an enemy rook on b4. So the rules also apply to this case. Your rook can travel any square if it's unoccupied. So you can travel to b4, you can travel to c4, but you can also capture the enemy rook. This is a new rule. Before, you couldn't capture your own pieces. You cannot go to the same square as your own piece. But in this case, it's possible. You can take your rook, drag it to the square that you want to travel to. If it's occupied by an enemy rook, for example, you can just place it on the same square, release it, and now the enemy rook is gone. On any chess website, if you capture a piece, it just gets deleted from the chessboard, and you win this piece. If you play chess with your friends and you want to capture one of their pieces with your rook, you just take your own piece and capture the other piece. So you basically go to the same square, which the piece of your friend was standing before, and you take their piece, get it out of the game, and you place your own piece on the square that your opponent's piece was standing before. This is how you capture a piece. So where can you find the rooks? Well, on a normal chessboard, you can find your rooks on a1 and h1 if you play white. If you play black, you can find your rooks on a8 and h8. So on the corners of your chessboard.